What's up, everybody? Welcome to a brand new episode of MUT Tips. I'm your host, Sean Taylor from the Made Up Theater, and before we jump in, make sure to like the video, leave a comment, and as always, subscribe on YouTube down below to be informed of upcoming videos and live streams. Ring that bell. Now, let's jump into today's topic, make the hard easy. Years ago, I took a class from a guy named Jason Schatz, and in that class, he said something that was really revelatory for me, and that's, don't look at improv as good or bad. Think of it more so as easy and hard, because there are definite correlations between easy and good and hard and bad. After a show, if you go backstage and you're like, wow, that was a really good show, it's probably because it was an easy show. You were connecting really well with your scene partners as well as the audience, and everything just felt so easy and it just flowed so freely. Whereas on the flip side, if you go backstage and you're like, wow, that was a bad show, it's probably because it was a hard show. Things were just not clicking very well between you and your team, and just the skills that maybe you take to the stage were just more difficult to implement. Let's look at hard versus bad. Hard is like, it's challenging, right? It's like a mountain. You look up at it and you're like, whoa, that looks really hard. I don't think I can climb that today.
Yeah, that's it. Just to the right of the one you're looking at.
But you can potentially grow to the point where you can reach the top.
Bow down before me, everyone, for I am your king!
But bad is kind of like, how do you grow from bad? It's like bad food or food that's gone bad. You open the fridge and you see that thing that you ate like 2 weeks ago and you're like, oh, this has gone bad. Guess we throw it out, right?
Homer, I found this behind the radiator. I really think you should throw it away.
Suggestion noted.
That just kind of feels like something that's just splattered on the ground, and it's hard to grow from that. This video is all about answering 3 questions. What is easy, what is hard, and I'll get to the other one shortly. This is meant to be done in a group environment. So it could be with your troupe members, your students, whatever you want, but it's meant to be a conversation. You can do this video as more of a self-evaluation, but I really recommend doing it in a group. First things first, tell everybody to pair up with somebody and take about a minute or two, probably no more than 2 minutes, because we're gonna have a bigger conversation shortly, and tell them to, one at a time, answer what is easy to them about improv and what is hard to them about improv. And it's to them personally, not overall. It's all about their personal point of view. And also, it's not the easiest or the hardest thing, just an easy thing and a hard thing about improv. Also, before they have that one-on-one conversation, make sure when they're answering the questions of what is easy about improv and what is hard about improv, to give some specifics on why. Why is it easy? Why is it hard? Because that's gonna make it a little bit easier for the third question that I'll tell you about in a moment. And by the way, it's really important to have them do a one-on-one conversation first before they present to the group, because we don't want them to have like a deer in the headlights moment. We want to give them some time to process these questions, to reflect, as well as to actually hear someone else one-on-one and maybe be a little bit inspired by this conversation. Now we're going to bring the focus back to the group. Whoever's leading is individually going to ask each person to present to the group what is easy and what is hard about improv. And again, we want to hear the specifics of the why. Now, during this part, you're gonna notice that there's gonna be a lot of differences, but there's also gonna be a lot of similarities. So starting off with the first question, what is easy about improv? An example of this might be like someone says, what's easy about improv is the acceptance part, saying yes to ideas. And we wanna ask them why. So because, it's more fun to accept an idea for them. They wanna play on stage, and by accepting a choice, it allows them to get to the play a little bit quicker. And now we move on to the next question, which is what is hard about improv? An example of this is someone might answer that by saying, it's really hard in improv when I feel stuck in a scene. At the beginning of the scene, we establish the who, what, where, who we are, where we are, and what we're doing. Once we get that information out, you can feel stuck sometimes because you're like, where do I go next? What's the next beat of the scene? And when I feel stuck, I feel physically stuck too. If I feel like I'm freezing on stage, I'm literally not moving, and that could be hard to get out of. So now that we've had somebody express what is easy about improv to them and what is hard about improv to them, we're gonna get to the third most important question, which is how do we make this hard thing easy as a group? And this is why it's really important to do this in a group setting. This can be a self-evaluation, but for example, if you say getting into character is hard for you, you can have your coach or your director help you out with that. But when it's showtime, the coach, the director, the teacher, they can't help you anymore. It's now up to the group to help you, and for you to help the group. We're gonna work together as the ensemble. So when we ask this very important question of how can we make this hard thing easy for this person, or just anybody in general, then we start to connect more to each other as an ensemble. You know, there's that expression of saying this before a show, I got your back, I got your back. Like, that can be kind of empty sometimes. Do we really have each other's back if we're not willing to help each other? And the best way to help each other on stage is to learn about what is hard about improv for them so we can acknowledge that when it happens on stage and actively help. So let's go to that example of someone saying, you know, it's hard in improv when they feel stuck on stage, you know, physically as well as mentally. How can the group help? How can somebody in a scene with this person help this person out when they notice that? And there could be a lot of different responses. This is just brainstorming, you know? It doesn't have to be one definitive answer. There can be a lot. So for example, someone might say, you know, hey, it might be helpful to give that person who feels stuck on stage a direct command to do something in a scene. So like in a scene, if you notice somebody's been kind of stuck, standing or sitting, and maybe they look like they're feeling a little bit stuck within the scene, you might say, oh, hey, Timmy, come on over here. I wanna show you something in my chest. Here, take the key, open it. You know? And now it's like I've called them over here, but I've also given them a physical object that they now get to use within the scene. So they're connecting with me personally as well as with the environment. And someone else might suggest, in response to someone feeling stuck on stage, and more so like mentally stuck, like, where do we go now? What's the scene gonna be about? And they might say, well, maybe drop in like a really strong, definitive line about the other person, you know? And this might be in the form of a you statement, like, you're my best friend. You know, that's a line that my partner now gets to react to. Maybe they don't see me as their best friend, or maybe they do. You know, or it might be like a confession-based line, like, I gotta confess something. I drank your milk. I'm really sorry, you know? And that's something for my partner to react to. So that's another way of getting out of being stuck. Not the only way, but again, the point of this conversation is just to hear ways that we can implement on stage when we acknowledge that improv is feeling hard for somebody. This conversation is great because it's all about just reflecting, and it's information that we can use in the future. A lot of like classes, rehearsals and stuff, it doesn't always have to be like, let's get on stage and do some exercise about relationships, or let's practice doing some short form games or long form formats. It's good to do that, but it is helpful to actually maybe pause every once in a while and just like have a conversation with each other to see where the ensemble's at, you know, and learn about people who might have difficulties with one thing versus having an easy time with another thing. We want to play to making our shows feel so easy, because that is great improv. And hey, if you want to have a conversation down below, leave a comment. What's easy to improv to you? What's hard to improv to you? And maybe we'll reply to those and try to make that hard thing easier. And that concludes this episode of MUT Tips, everybody. Thank you so much for checking it out. I really appreciate it. Again, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you next time for a brand new episode of MUT Tips. Bye.